Onegaishimasu. Welcome back to the Goju Karate Center. Tonight we talk about makiwara and just a few key concepts, so maybe not that long a video. The striking post is essentially padded with either leather or grass. It's on a sprung board, and the springing system depends on how you want to set it up. Variety of spring is good because it gives you different degrees of difficulty. So if you're a beginner, you don't want to hit something that's so hard that it breaks the hands. The goal of makiwara, I don't think, should be to generate huge, massive callousing on the hands, huge, massive knuckles, but rather I think of it as being a dynamic tuning mechanism, like you would take a motor car to a specialist. I think it tunes your technique a little bit, and it helps you just find the weak spots in your own anatomy. So the first thing is, if this is the makiwara, I'm just going to show you there's bend on the makiwara. I'm just pressing with my hands. This is not a hard makiwara, this is a very soft makiwara, and the goal is not to try and smash it. The goal is just to try and find what's weak in my body. Now, the first thing we're going to do is just maybe do a seiken, so front to knuckles, and then having a look that nothing is happening on your wrist. So taking a good stance, tightening, making sure front to knuckles are making contact. You're not hitting, you're just putting a bit of weight on it, and your wrist is straight. So your wrist is straight, knuckles, wrist. Your elbow is not going out. Try and rotate that elbow underneath. Pull the shoulder joint down. I'm currently standing in a sanchen dachi. My back foot is lined up with the makiwara so that I have a nice straight technique. And maybe I put this hand up to help me work on the punching mechanism according to my kihon. All right. Yeah, there are people who believe that this hand is needed for power, and there are people who understand that this hand is grabbing onto something and bringing something back with it. So a good exercise, if you want to practice that, maybe put a tire or a TerraBand, some kind of tube or a rope, pulling on that so you're fighting the resistance and then driving the punch. But that's a little bit more advanced. So good position. Nice stance, relaxed, touch, press. Relax, touch, press. Touch, press. As this gets better, you can move to actually hitting the makiwara. I don't like hitting this makiwara. I use this makiwara to help demonstrate because of the great degree of flexibility. So we move from punch and elbow. Maybe move to more like oezuki. Left side maybe. So press and back. You'll notice that my body does not do this quite naturally. Kind of thinking a little bit self-defense, but if you want, kihon, 1, 2, feel from your stance. I've opted for this height and I've dropped a little bit to a longer stance. Try not to fall forward when you hit. So don't. This is no good. Try to keep your head above your hip and just feel rotation from the hip and extension through the body. When you're doing this now, again, so this is a little bit easier for me, and now I'm worried about my lat. Okay. So if I switch side, and so this is more natural, this is a more synthetic. All right, so natural idea of at contact, just keep moving through, so don't stop, get your energy and push. That teaches something else. It's not that it's wrong, it just teaches something else. So for now, just getting the idea. When we change, maybe we decide to do urazuk or this punch. I call it kage zuke because to me it looks like a fish hook, but you might think kage zuke is this. So 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Sideways punch with the bent arm, very relaxed, close quarters punch. 1. So now I'm working pulsation, hips and touch and hip and push. Okay, so obviously it will translate into hitting as you do it. Okay, so punch, punch. Next punch I'd like to work on is a vertical fist. Now I'm going to move and we're going to go to a different makiwara. A little bit of perspective. I'm 172, so this makiwara is quite high up, and I like vertical fist a little bit. I saw something on Facebook which was, which one do you use more and why or where? I like vertical fist for the nose. It just feels like it, if you hit properly, it maybe breaks the nose, but also that you've got that leverage that your wrist can generate, which is why we do chishi, to strengthen an extended range of motion. So, same idea, vertical first. All right, or maybe heikodachi. It's going to sound bad, try grab the floor with your feet. In other words, do the direct opposite. Spread your toes, press your feet down into the floor, bend your knees slightly, tighten your legs and your glutes, because if you're in a neutral stance, anything that gives you away is going to bump you off. Okay, so if I'm in a neutral stance and I hit and the makiwara presses me back, what you want to do is you want to try and root yourself. So spread the toes, grab the floor slightly with the knees, tighten the glutes and the legs, and then slowly start. Or so now you can see I'm doing a little bit of a different exercise. It's continuous punching with, again, the natural extension into the makiwara. Next exercise. Remember I said don't have the synthetic of move, stop, summon the energy and press. Well, now we're going to do exactly that. We're going to try and relax and press, and press, press, press. Other side. Hopefully you're not seeing. Okay, we don't want to use too much of our body weight, because if I'm falling when I'm punching, losing my own balance, I'm compromising my own position. I want to be able to keep my head above my hip the whole time. Okay, same thing applies to generate a little bit of hip into the movement and a little bit of lock. So now using lock on the okay, it's broken up, but you would probably sit and go trying to feel that your hip is not doing this. Your hip movement is going into your technique. And so this is now your private partner you train with. At this point, my hands are not red, they're not busted up, haven't hurt myself. If I happen to be somebody who sits in an office and I need to use my fingers, maybe I drive a keyboard and a mouse, maybe I drive a pen, then I I'm still able to work. 90% of people, karate is a hobby and it's a pursuit, and only a small number of people are trying to be the ultimate martial artist through karate as an experience. And maybe they sacrifice their hands and their limbs to implement a lot to get stronger. Now, if you want great ideas on various training apparatus, there is a man who posts a lot of videos on Facebook. His name is Matthew Clark, and Matthew Clark Sensei has got some very, very good exercises where he shows you his training. And that's the best thing about it. It's what he's doing, and you either like it or you don't. And he's got some fantastic ideas. And then obviously the best person to look at for ease of explanation because of the ability to speak English, I think, is Sensei Paul Enfield. Have a look at what Sensei Paul's saying about doing makiwara. And then you have a look at what happens from all the different dojos. So you will see some amazing makiwara practices from people in the Jundokan, the Beibukan, the Shoreikan. You'll see them doing makiwara a little bit differently here or there, but there are some key concepts that work. One last thing. When you do decide to hit makiwara and your hands and your wrists and your elbows are conditioned, try and relax. So start very relaxed. And just feel relaxed. Okay, this is not your enemy. I think it's Isaka Sensei from the Karate no Michi. Sometimes I used to watch his makiwara videos. Makiwara is your friend. Makiwara is your friend. All right, relax. I think the principle, the message is relax. Let the technique just flow. Okay, so it's a basic idea how to use the makiwara to start with just tsuki, and whether it is normal chokuzuki, maybe Tate tsuki, maybe urazuki. Okay, so maybe not this way too much, maybe a little bit more like Saifa. When you start, maybe because of the angle of makiwara, your whole head, this way, is making contact. But gradually work towards the two knuckles. Takes a little bit of concentration, and it works. If you're doing like kicks at itch, and work like kicks at itch, maybe add the footwork and have a good time with it. Your makiwara is your friend. So, short, very, very basic on makiwara, because if we're not talking about implements, we're not talking about makiwara, chishi, kongoken, ishi, sashi, sashi, ishi, and so on and so forth, then maybe we're not doing such realistic Goju karate. A tale from the dark days, the dark side of the Goju Karate Center would be along the lines that during my childhood, I remember makiwara in our first shopping center dojo that I trained in when I left the school dojo, and there were these little like sponge makiwara, and there were one or two makiwara in a side room at our dojo at Kilburn Center, and Sensei Paul had a couple of makiwara, a couple of pillars in the middle of the dojo. So imagine the kids running in the dojo, and then you'd run past the makiwara and you'd hit it. And they were made from wood with grooves cut in them. And so there was always this thing in the dojo, these boards to hit. And then we moved a couple of times, and then we went into the dark times. We moved into a recreation facility. There was no equipment, because if equipment got put up, it would invariably be used by everybody, get vandalized, or even get stolen. So the makiwara vanished. And I remember when we moved back into the Kilburn Center and we managed to find the makiwara where they'd been stashed away and put away, and we put them up, and then they gathered dust for a while. Every now and then somebody would hit the makiwara a little bit, but not as frequently. And today we have 4 makiwara in our dojo, plus we have our mannequin. I'm just going to do this. So you can see we've got 1, 2 makiwara, a mannequin, and then we've got another 2 makiwara, and we have a couple of tires with wooden boards, etc., on them to hit with foam, impact foam on the outside. And those were from the late Sensei Brahm Piens, who was one of my seniors. And when he passed away, I was fortunate enough to get quite a fair amount of the contents of his dojo so that it could be continued to be used in a productive dojo so that it wouldn't go to waste. I think that it is very important to remember that Goju karate, as we generally know it, has got basics or fundamentals. It's got kata, it has got bunkai and oyo, it has got some kind of prearranged kumite, yokusuko kumite, renzuko kumite, and it has got training apparatus. The more you're Okinawan based, the more there will be apparatus. The more you tend to be Japanese based, I know my friends in Goju Kai don't do too much apparatus work, but they do know of all the equipment, and they, every now and then, they train a little bit with it. So it's very, very important to remember I'm coming from a Okinawan Goju background, and my routing through various streams is predominantly Miyazato line, Jindokan line, OGKK line, Goju karate. So, makiwara is your friend. Have a good time with the makiwara. Arigatou gozaimasu.